Good morning, Sac City. Welcome into another episode of the Fantasy Drive presented by the Sac City Podcast. I am your host, the one and only Vinny Milani, joined as always by my best friend in the whole entire world. He is Aaron, the Meuaxiah Mukes. And of course, below us we have your boy, my boy, and everybody's boy. He is AJ Johnson. It is a beautiful August 17th morning here in the city, Wednesday. Oh, one more day until football again, Thursday night football. And we get rolling back into previews and predictions and recaps and all that good stuff. But today, that's not what it's about. Today, it's not about previews. It's not about reviews. It's not about recaps. It's about fantasy football. It is Fantasy Football Wednesday on the Fantasy Drive Show presented by the Sac City Podcast. Aaron, how goes it this morning?
I'm good, man. You know me, I'm a fantasy football guy. Love fantasy football every week time we get to talk about it. You know, I know we do it only once a week on the off season, twice a week when the season comes into play because we got so much to cover and we like to give the breakdowns of all the specific teams. But there's nothing better than fantasy. Everybody can play it. You don't really have to know football. You just got to have fun and watch it. And, you know, you never know. You get lucky. You win some games. You win some money. It's all in fun. So, I'm really excited. I'm excited for our league this year to get some people in that, to have the returning champion Bailey back, to have you guys back so I can make sure I get my guaranteed, 6 wins a year, 2 from AJ, 2 from Vinny, and 2 from Dylan, and then and go from there. And then, take another stab at the championship. Hopefully this time I can get over the hump and actually bring the trophy home.
Yeah, well, probably not. Hopefully not. Yeah, I agree. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Do you want to make our special announcement this morning for our fantasy league, or you want to like let it marinate just a little bit longer and announce it at the end of the week?
Yeah, let's let it marinate. Yeah. Just be ready. Be ready. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. We promise. It's coming. Right now, 4 spots have already been filled. 4 spots. Yep. Me, 4 spots. AJ, Vinny, Dylan. And then, of course,
there's
5 spots.
5 spots. Math is hard.
Yeah,
it's a good.
I forgot we got to let Bailey in the damn league. You know what I mean? Champion and all.
Math is really hard. And today we are actually doing. Well, we're not really doing math, but we have stock. We have the stock report coming up on today's show. We are talking about risers and fallers. We also have a brand new segment coming up called "Draft Me Here." Aaron's segment titles might need a little work on what they are called, but wait.
That's a beautiful title, by the way. Draft Me Here, because it leaves for intrigue. It's so intriguing that you had to ask me actually what it meant. So I like that mysterious,
the mystique
kind of. What is going on? What is he really pointing at here? Come on, man. He's like Jeopardy. Alex Trebek always had to explain the categories, right? It's like letters that start with this were simple, but there were categories that you had to explain. That's just one of those categories.
All right. Well, you know what? I don't have to explain. Getting into your rankings, our pre-draft rankings here. We're breaking down the wide receivers this morning. If you missed last week's show, we broke down Aaron's top running backs in the draft. Go check that out on our YouTube page at Sac City Pod. Today, we will be breaking down your top 24 wide receivers in this year's draft, starting with 1 through 12 here. Justin Jefferson at number 1, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb round out the top 5. Aaron, you, before the show, talked about players that it was a fluid system with your rankings. And today, we saw a lot of changes happen within your rankings. What was the biggest change in the wide receivers that at least maybe came from the top 12 that you want to discuss?
Yeah, the movement that a lot of people didn't see because we didn't show the wide receivers last week. My 1 and 2 switched, and then my 4 and 3 switched, 3 and 4 switched. So a little bit interesting there. I moved Justin Jefferson, Jay Jettis above Devontae Adams, and then I moved Stephon Diggs above Jamar Chase. And I will say this. I had already had debates about where I wanted to put Devontae Adams as opposed to Justin Jefferson. And I spoke yesterday after doing the recap on the Minnesota Vikings and just understanding how good Justin Jefferson is and what I think he's capable of. I do think he's right there as a number 1 wide receiver in fantasy. I like the fact that he's with the same quarterback on the same team, doing some of the same things he's been doing, whereas Devontae Adams now has to get comfortable again with some new offense, even though I know the Vikings have a new offense as well. He's switching quarterbacks. I do think that's going to take a little bit of time as far as fantasy purposes. And then Justin Jefferson is just so explosive to me. This is a guy that I told you yesterday had the potential to be the leading receiver in the NFL. And I said, a matter of fact, I would lock that in, that he was going to be the leader in the NFL. So that was a big change there. The other guy is Stephon Diggs going above Jamar Chase. I'm not souring on Jamar Chase, but I am thinking back to last year and the amount of big games that he had in certain situations where he goes for 300 yards or whatever. I don't know if that's going to happen again. Can it? Yes, because he does have that potential. But I also think it's a little bit of T. Higgins more involved, and they have a lot of weapons to go to. I don't know if I can trust Jamar Chase to be better than Stephon Diggs. I really, really like Stephon Diggs this year. I think he's better because of the weapons they've added with Gabriel, Gabe Davis there, with even the Khalil Shakurs and the Jamison Crowders. I think that they're going to find ways to get Stephon Diggs, and he's going to have even more of an impact, closer to what he was 2 years ago than he was last year. So those were the two biggest changes, I guess you could say, at the top of the board.
At the top is at number 7. I should say not really at the top. At number 7, you have Cooper Kupp, and that's where I wanted to start here first. Not to say I disagree with you. I am not on the Cooper Kupp train this season. Not to say he's going to have a bad season, but just something that I just don't. I don't see it. Definitely, I don't see a top 5 finish within Cooper Kupp. People are going to see that and question you. So let's get it out of the way now. Why is Cooper Kupp not in your top 5?
Yeah, I mean, people can question me all they want, but I win championships. So Meuaxiah is named that for a reason. They can question me all they want. Cooper Kupp is great. If you want to pick him in the first round, I'm not going to tell you no. He had 1,900 yards last year. Like, of course he had a good year, but that was one season. One season with 1,900 yards. That's not enough for me to just say, oh, now he's the top wide receiver overall. Not to mention, we talked about the move from L.A. to Minnesota and Kevin O'Connell. So you lose your offensive coordinator. I know Sean McVay is the guy, but Kevin O'Connell plays a role. We talk about how good he is. So he's going to Minnesota now. You add Allen Robinson into that offense. So I worry that there are going to be targets taken away from Cooper Kupp. Defenses are going to focus on him a lot more. Not to mention, I'm just throwing this out here, Matt Stafford's arm, we still don't really know what's going to be going on with that. Maybe he misses some time early in the season, or they can't throw as much. Who knows? But I have to imagine that defenses are now going to be looking at the Los Angeles Rams and saying, what is the best weapon on their team? It's Cooper Kupp. Let's take him away. And we saw that for about 48 minutes in the Super Bowl. Cooper Kupp was nothing. Like, if you go back to that game, Cooper Kupp did not show up. And then he had a drive where he just caught like 6 balls in a row and scored a touchdown. And that was a big game. So I do think that they focused on him and they were able to shut him down to some extent. I think defenses will do that more. Now, again, I'm not going to argue with you. He's going to have a good season, 12, 13.
Still going to be a wide receiver 1.
Absolutely.
It's splitting hairs.
Absolutely. But when we're talking about the number 1 overall wide receiver in fantasy, I'd rather take Justin Jefferson at 6, 7 than reach for Cooper Kupp at 2 or 3, which most people are doing right now. And I think that's the difference. It's just I think the floor of Justin Jefferson is so high. Like, his floor is probably wide receiver like 5. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so high that you just can't pass on that. I talked about it last week. First round picks must be a sure thing. Must be a sure thing, obviously barring injury.
Yeah. AJ, when you looked at his top 12, is there any names that jumped out to you that you want to question, that maybe too high, too low, or just right, that you like so much?
Yeah, there's one that comes to mind, and, we're talking about top 12. We're talking about wide receiver 1s here. So obviously keep in mind we're nitpicking here. And some of you guys may just call me being not a homer, but, a slight amount of favoritism. But I'm looking at 12 and I'm looking at Deebo Samuel. And I think he deserves to be a top 10 because of the versatility that his usage could have. Now, Michael Pittman's going to be really good. We're all expecting another great year from him, especially with the addition of a Michael Pittman. Deontay Johnson is a great receiver. There's still some influx with what's going on with the QB. So, if Mitch Trubisky's there, sure, he may look for that guy a lot, but how much do we trust Deontay Johnson to do all that? And again, I love Deontay Johnson. I think he can make whatever quarterback throwing him the ball a little better. But let's not forget George Pickens is going to get some looks because he is that dude. So I look at Deebo Samuel. I look at the addition of Trey Lance and a guy who likes to make plays with a guy who's Deebo Samuel, who's a playmaker. And I think the potential of him being a top 10 wide receiver is sitting right there. Now, Aaron had him at 12. We're talking 2 spots down. In some cases, that may be big, but at the same time, I see it as nitpicking right now. So, but I think he could be a top 10 receiver.
So you like the addition of Trey Lance to boost Deebo Samuel's value, or what do you think that's going to look like during the regular season with Trey Lance now being obviously a much more mobile quarterback than what Jimmy Garoppolo was, and how does that affect Deebo Samuel's fantasy value?
I mean, I acknowledge that Trey Lance is going to run a lot more than Jimmy G ever did, for sure. That's a part of it. But I also think that that's going to open up other opportunities, because now that you're now spending another guy that's on the quarterback. When Jimmy G was there, you might have had a spy, or you could have taken that guy and pulled him off and doubled a Deebo. Now you can't do that because you have to have a guy paying attention to a Trey Lance, which means that's one less person paying attention to a Deebo. I think Trey Lance is the type of guy who loves to throw the deep ball, and if Deebo Samuel wants to get loose, that's something that's hard to stop. We saw him just being wide open in space multiple times last season. There was at least 2 or 3 touchdowns where you're like, how was nobody around Deebo Samuel in that play? So I think that's the possibility that can be there. I think they'll be creative with the fact that Trey Lance can run and use that on some rollout play action type plays that can also break Deebo Samuel open downfield. So I think while it can take away maybe a couple extra yards from Deebo Samuel rushing, I don't think it does too much with him passing the ball that often.
So my biggest question with Deebo Samuel, again, it's never a talent thing. It's obviously injuries, right, which is where I kind of weighed that a little bit in there. But I'm going to ask, and this is a dead, honest, serious question. How are the 49ers going to use him this year? I think that's a legitimate question we have to ask, because I looked a little bit more into how he was used a year ago. At the beginning of the season, he was not running the football. At the beginning of the season, he had 50 plus targets in the first 5 games from the wide receiver position. The last 5 games, he only had 28.
Yeah.
And then you look at what his rushing numbers were the beginning of the season, first 5 games, he only had 6 carries. Mm-hmm. Last 5 games, he had well over 30. What kind of offense is this going to look like? And to me, that's a big thing, because the relationship between Trey Lance and Deebo Samuel is not there. They haven't played together like Jimmy G and Deebo Samuel is, right, especially in the past game, especially from a young quarterback who, let's be honest, there's going to be growing pains. So I worry about how they are going to use Deebo. This whole contract situation, did he really say, hey, I don't really want to run the ball as much? Or is this something that was just kind of just about the money? So he's really there because I don't know what to expect. If this Deebo Samuel is not running the football, I do not think he can be what he was last year without that aspect of the game. I just don't.
So I think last year they did this kind of on a trial run. Like, they had he's explosive, let's get him on some sweet cement rounds. And then as guys went down and as they saw Deebo Samuel getting loose and breaking tackles and saw there's a whole other aspect to him, let's give this a try and see what was up. I think they I don't want to say go directly to that this season, but there are rushing incentives in his contract this year. So I do think they plan on using him to run the ball. And I mean, there's no reason to put those incentives in and then not give him a shot to at least try to get there or show that that's a capability of him. I do like the idea of Elijah Mitchell. We understand that they bring is Jeff Wilson still there? I do not remember. I think he still is. Jermichael Hasty wants to be a thing. So I know they have all these running backs. That's what San Francisco does. But clearly they saw something in Deebo Samuel that they liked enough to pair him with an Elijah Mitchell in some sort of fashion. So while I don't think he's going to be taking 100 carries or anything like that, I do think you might see that 40, 50, 59 rushes last season. He may get a little less than that. He might get slightly more than that. I think it is still going to be in that area that they decide to use him rushing the ball.
59 carries, 8 touchdowns. That's just begging.
I was thinking 6 touchdowns in the rushing
begging
game.
For regression. I think he's going to be great. Probably a wide receiver 1, but between the health issues and the fact that I'm unsure of how they're going to use him,
right?
It's hard for me right now. I need to see him with Trey Lance, and I haven't really seen what it's going to look like.
What do you think his floor is? What do you think he caps out? What? Yeah,
healthy.
Yeah,
healthy Deebo Samuel, a solid RB or a solid wide receiver 2. like middle. That's like a floor.
Yeah,
like he's gonna produce. 14. He's gonna produce.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Let's go to the back half of your wide receiver twos here, 13 through 24. DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, DeAndre Hopkins, Terry McLaurin round out the 13 through 17. Aaron, what was the? I'll just ask you this question. I normally ask this actually during the fantasy season, which you guys will be able to watch during the regular season on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Which wide receiver from the wide receiver 2 section has the best chance to become a wide receiver 1 when the season's all said and done?
It's not really a fair question. I think the easy answer, no, because I think the easy answer is the DK Metcalf or an AJ Brown, which I have just outside wide receiver 1. So you could honestly interchange any of the 10 through 14, and I wouldn't have even flinched. I'm gonna go deeper. I'm gonna go deeper, and the one person I think it's 24. It's T Higgins. And I told you that I wasn't a fan of his, and I told you to sell T Higgins because I felt like he's always been the wide receiver 2. But if anybody out of those guys to me has a chance to take the leap and just say, you know what, Joe Burrow balled out and it's in a heavy volume offense that's going to put up a lot of points, it's T Higgins. All the other guys, Chris Godwin coming off ACL, don't like. Allen Robinson has to deal with too much of a Cooper Kupp in that offense. And those other guys ahead of them, the Amari Coopers, the Brandon Cooks, those guys have always been what they are. T Higgins has the skill set, and he just needs the opportunity. He just needs Joe Burrow to throw him the ball more than Jamar Chase, right? And I think when Jamar Chase maybe gets some more attention this year, maybe you see a little bit of that happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but if you had to ask me and say which guy out of those 13 through 24 outside of a DK Metcalf and AJ Brown, I think the one that I would probably put in there is a T Higgins. And I have him pretty low. A lot of people have T Higgins like 13, 14. So I'm not respecting T Higgins as much, but I do respect the skill set. I just didn't love the situation being Jamar Chase is really that good.
Yeah. AJ, what did you think about the wide receiver 2s that he has listed?
Honestly, they're very fair. You know, the first name that obviously sticks out to everybody is Chris Godwin at 23, and you understand why. But you're hopeful, and I honestly imagine he will stay above top 20. We're hearing the reports that he's already looking good. Of course, they're not going to use him until he's 100, but he's participating in 7-on-7s already. They're probably going to ramp him up to 11s this upcoming week, and he's cutting well. They're seeing him getting in and out of his routes, in and out of breaks, and it's all really positive news. But as always, you need the contact. You need to see how he responds to that, how his mentality responds to the fact that he's out there taking contact. But once he gets going, I mean, we're talking about one of the best quarterbacks with one of his favorite receivers with a talented skill set around a bunch of weapons. So you can't just double team him. He's got everything working in his favor except for that ACL. But you imagine if he's ramping up the way he is now, he's 100% by week 3. That's 14 games, 13 games of Chris Godwin. I think he can fall in. He can easily be above a top 20.
Yeah. I want to go up 2 spots to end this here real quick. And it's Amari Cooper at 21. This is the biggest question mark I've seen on your list. Not a question mark as in I disagree with it or agree with it. It's the fact that there's no Deshaun Watson for 6 games, could possibly be more. But as of right now, it's no Deshaun Watson for 6 games. You're drafting him obviously as a low-end wide receiver too, but the concern has to still be there with Jacoby Brissett throwing him the ball. What makes you confident that Amari Cooper still finishes as a wide receiver 2 with Jacoby Brissett at least for 6 games?
Oh, I have no concerns at all with Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is going to be what Amari Cooper is. Could you say the difference is 20 to 24? Maybe he drops down. Last year, he was wide receiver 27 in 15 games, missed 2 games, still put up 865 yards and had a bad season, like was hurt for part of the season. His worst performance before that was wide receiver, I believe, like 30-something. And that was his last year in Oakland before they decided to move on from him. A lot was going on there. Amari Cooper's been one of the more consistent wide receivers. He's usually around that 15 to 25 range. I don't see why this year's any different. He'll be the number 1 target in that offense. He's a veteran, excellent route runner. 3rd down, money down, he's always good. He'll get his handful of touchdowns that he gets. and then every once in a while, a couple of big plays. Jacoby Brissett or Deshaun Watson. I think the only thing that happens is if Deshaun Watson comes in and plays week 6, I don't think Amari Cooper gets worse, right? I think he can only elevate from what he is, and I think that's probably a mid to low back end wide receiver 2 with the upside of a high wide receiver 2, maybe cracking into the bottom half of that wide receiver 1 at 12 or 13-ish, best case scenario. But I have no concerns about Amari Cooper if he's healthy.
And who's he battling for targets, Like,
nobody.
It's not like there's a CeeDee Lamb, There's guys who are going to get the ball, but, he's not really battling somebody for targets.
Yeah.
I think this could be the best situation Amari Cooper's had in his entire career, at least for fantasy, with him being the sole guy, the number one guy, and then also
first couple years in Dallas.
I think,
I'm gonna say, I think first couple years in Dallas he was that.
But I do think that Deshaun Watson, obviously we haven't seen him play, but what we've seen from Deshaun Watson, he is the best quarterback Amari Cooper has had throwing to.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So that's what I'm saying. I think this is the best situation, not only because he's the guy, but also add in the fact that this is potentially the best quarterback that he's ever had throwing to him. That does it, though, for our rankings recap here. That was the wide receivers 1 through 24. Next week, we'll be breaking down Aaron's top quarterbacks in fantasy drafts. So tune into that live 10 a.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube. We're going to take a quick break, but after that, we're going to get into our stock report, risers and fallers, and who you're drafting. What was your segment called, Aaron? What was it called? It was Draft Me Here. Sorry, I'm scrolling through the doc here. There's a lot in the doc today. Lots to talk about. All that and more next.
This season preview is brought to you by Manscaped's brand new Ultra Premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. This luxurious lather cleanses and nourishes in just one step. Using coconut water, green tea, and aloe, this non-greasy daily formula is naturally hydrating and rich in antioxidants to revitalize the look and feel of your hair. So head on over to manscaped.com and use the promo code SACCITY for 20% off and free worldwide shipping. The new Ultra Premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner from Manscaped. Take care of hair everywhere.
AJ, you got a beautiful voice, man. You got some beautiful voice. Just an absolute.
You can't make a video to save your life, but you got a beautiful ass voice.
That too, but absolutely beautiful voice. Let's get into our stock market report, the risers and the fallers. AJ, because you have such a beautiful voice, I'm going to you first. Who is the riser? So who's rising right now in drafts?
So I could go easy and talk about, some of these top tier guys we were talking about, but I'm going to go deeper. And it's a name that you've heard me speak before. And it's funny he's a riser because, a lot of people are going to be afraid to go and get him, but I'm thinking about Ramadan Stevenson for the New England Patriots as a running back. With the news of James White retiring, with the stock of Ramadan from last year and all the love that he was getting in fantasy and all the opportunities he was getting. I'm not saying he was taking away everything, but he was getting his run last year. I look at him this season and think that he's going to have a chance to step up. If Ty Montgomery is not the guy who is going to be taking over all of the receptions, as they've had some conversation about, I think it's Ramadan Stevenson who's going to be that guy that gets the receptions in this Patriots offense. So if you look at James White, he averaged 5.14 targets in his career as a Patriot. And I think in a normal season, you can see a Ramadan Stevenson on top of getting maybe 8 to 12 carries, getting about 3 to 5 targets a game at least as well. So Damian Harris is obviously the lead guy in that backfield, but I think you can look at Ramadan Stevenson as a solid RB2 in that offense, and will have an opportunity to show what he can do in the season.
I'm so disappointed in you. So disappointed in you. I don't mind the Ramadan Stevenson draft stock rising. I like Ramadan Stevenson. I'm disappointed that you said he's going to go down the passing down work, and you didn't even bat an eye and mention your boy Pierre Strong.
Well, it's not about him right now.
But it is, because I don't know if you've read all reports at a Patriots camp is that Pierre Strong is going to take the James White role. That they like Pierre Strong. And I was like, oh, AJ's going to say it. AJ's going to say it. And then you said Ty Montgomery, and I went, oh, what the hell?
So the reports that I got to was how they are worried about Pierre Strong because he's struggling in pass protection. And that's something that doesn't fly over there. So
absolutely, but James White ain't go blocking nobody. He goes out for passes. I get it. I get it.
Can't get on the field.
I get exactly what you're saying because you always worry about rookie running back coming in and blocking on third downs. That's a huge thing. When you went to Ty, I was just like, no, like I thought it was like set it up to yourself. You're going to put it between the legs. You were just going to dunk it on me with Pierre Strong because I thought it was the perfect time to come at me with that.
It's a dunk contest. I need two more attempts on the between the legs. Though.
Well,
that's all.
I'll dunk it for you because I do think Pierre Strong actually might fit that role really nicely. When James White retired, I was like, God damn it. AJ's going to be right about Pierre Strong. He's going to play, and I'm going to be wrong. So who knows? Who knows? We're yet to see, but there is a chance. And I do like the rise of a Ramadan Stevenson. And don't let Damien Harris get hurt. This is going to still be a team that's predicated heavily on the run, regardless of what people think about Mac Jones and his talent. They're going to run the football because that's how they were so successful last year, was running the football, play action, keeping Mac Jones out of trouble. I don't think that changes too much.
I'm going to slide in next here, gentlemen. I'm just going to slide in
here
next.
In.
You said you came at me, Aaron, before the show saying this is like the low-hanging fruit pick. And I'm okay with it. I feel no shame. I feel no shame. Let me ask you, gentlemen, a question. I'm just going to start off with this. What do all these players have in common? Alexander Mattison, Nyheim Hines, Darrell Henderson, Ronald Jones, Raheem Mostert. What do all five of those running backs have in common?
I can't say all of them.
Starters.
Most of them are shitburgers.
That too. Most of them are shitburgers. AJ, what was your answer?
They all still wish they were starters.
Bingo. They all still kind of bingo. They all still wish they were starters because they're all backups right now. All backups are going ahead of my guy, Damian Harris, the running back for the Houston Texans. They're all backups. Damian Pierce. Sorry.
Yes.
Damian Pierce.
Yes.
Sorry. My apologies. I'm off to a real hot start here. Damian Pierce, though, the running back for the Houston Texans, those guys are all going ahead of him. They're backups. That's the point here. Damian Pierce is going to be the starter, the bell cow back for the Houston Texans. I know they have some infatuation with these older veteran running backs, but there's a reason why they went out and got him. I'm going to move on to my next point about him. We always talk about running backs who have a lot of miles on their tires, a lot of tread, a lot of work from their college experience. This man at Florida only had 2 games last year with more than 9 carries in a game. There's not a lot of miles on Damian Pierce's tires, okay? He is going to get the work in Houston. There's a reason why they drafted him. He's a physical, aggressive running back. We saw it in his dominant preseason game, and not going to all hype on preseason games, but there's just something about him, something special, that physicality, that just mean type of runner. And he's going to be the guy in Houston. And you're getting him right now behind guys like Alexander Mattison, Nyheim Hines, Ronald Jones. You're getting him right now as the RB46. Just that's the riser. It's as simple as that. It is the low-hanging fruit. Damian Pierce is the riser. You get him there as an RB1 or as a starting running back, which are hard to come by, especially in the later rounds. He is the guy to go get in the later rounds. He's my riser.
Very nice. Like I said, low-hanging fruit. I talked about him on our Houston Texans recap. I thought that was the only thing out of the game that I cared about was he looked like the running back one on that team. My rankings were adjusted accordingly. I moved him all the way up to running back 26. Think about this. I now have Damian Pierce ahead of guys like Travis Etienne, J.K. Dobbins, Chase Edmonds, Rashad Penny, James Robinson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Melvin Gordon, Cordero Patterson. Starters. You talking about the backups. I moved him ahead of starters because I think he's going to be that good. The way he runs is very physical. And like I said, he might have a short NFL career, but if you're a fantasy football owner, you'll take that for 3 or 4 years.
And I think that this is the type of player that I believe it was last week's show. You had one of the tips that you let people know is don't be afraid to reach on your guy. If you like your guy, go out and get him. Don't worry about where he's his average draft position at. Just because he's going as the RB46 right now does not mean you have to wait all the way until then to go out and get him. I really do think, like you just said,
you'll miss out. You'll miss out.
Exactly. Don't miss out on Damian Pierce. You're not going to like it. if you want to wait past the rankings of where Aaron has him as you have him as RB26, like you said, ahead of guys like Etienne, Dobbins, Edmonds, guys like that. If you want to wait for Pierce just outside of those guys and then scoop him up, that's the spot. But do not wait until that RB46 spot to get him, because he's not going to be there. No, he shouldn't be there. He should not.
Somebody's always going to reach. So when you think, okay, I'm going to take this guy at pick 30, say I'm going to take Damian Pierce at pick 30, just whatever your number is. Think somebody's going to take him at pick 27. Like, that's how you have to think. And you have to be okay with saying, you know what, if somebody takes him at 27, I'm okay with that. I'm missing out on him because I won't take him at pick 26. But if you're like, no, I need him, then you take him at pick 26 if you have it, or 24. Whenever you think you need to take that player, you don't wait. You have to trust your process. As long as you're not doing it with this, with your heart, like Vinny. If you start to play with your heart, it's a problem. It is going to be a problem. You got to use your head. Use your head.
Aaron, who's your riser?
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody mentioned this, to be honest. I'm not going to go down into the weeds like you guys did, find all these sleepers. I'm going straight to the top. Why in the hell is Alvin Kamara still RB11? Reports have already come out, said that there's probably not going to be a suspension this year. We talk about a New Orleans Saints team that everybody has told me, Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, Jameis is back. And you have Alvin Kamara, who's been the RB, like a top 5 running back his entire career, and now we have him outside the top 10. I think this is weird. I know it's because of the suspension, which is why his ADP originally dropped, but it's time for us to say, you know what, Alvin Kamara needs to go back. Again, he hasn't been outside the top 10 in running back. He's been 1, 4, 5, 3. He is a top pick in fantasy football. Take him in the first round. If he's not suspended, you're getting a first-round running back. If you somehow get him as your turnaround back, you end up with a Deandre Swift and Alvin Kamara, a Jonathan Taylor and Alvin Kamara, or Dalvin Cook and an Alvin Kamara. Like, good luck to those people in your league, because you're going to be loaded. So Alvin Kamara's stock should be going like this, because the reports of him probably not going to be suspended. I'm pretty sure they're close to accurate. And if you do happen to reach on him now because you have a draft before something comes down and he is suspended for 6 games, hey, guess what? You'll have an RB1 after he comes back. So I don't think there's much risk there, because I don't think this is a long-term thing. Go get some Alvin Kamara, because his stock should be shooting up over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. And I do believe, not to toot our own horns here, but we told you guys in the offseason, if you miss our offseason coverage, well, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, glad you're here now. Third, we told you guys that Alvin Kamara, this suspension was really trending towards this decision here that we're expecting now, of it being pushed back and him being ready for week 1 and starting week 1. It's time to start treating Alvin Kamara like exactly like the running back that he has been and he will be this season, as a surefire running back 1 who should be going in the first round of your drafts. That's
the benefits of leagues that people have already drafted. Now, we know it sucks, injuries. If you draft early and you were the guy that had the early draft and drafted Alvin Kamara in the 2nd or 3rd round or whatever, you're now sitting like this. Like, okay, I got 2 good players. I got my first-round pick and didn't have to spend it on Alvin Kamara, and I still got Alvin Kamara out of it, and now I'm hearing this good news. I think if you're drafting now, that ADP that's at 11, running back 11 right now, I think it only goes up. And by the time you're drafting at the end of August, end of September, it's probably not going to be going as RB11. It's probably going to be along the lines of somewhere RB7 to RB10, maybe even ahead of that.
Dennis Allen came out and said today that Alvin Kamara is also having one of the best camps he's seen since he's been back in New Orleans.
He's a stud. Alvin Kamara
is that dude.
18th overall is far too low. It's far too low. You should not be getting players like you shouldn't be getting Justin Jefferson and Alvin Kamara to start your team. Like, if you get that, good luck to everybody that's in your league. So,
goodness gracious. Ugh. All right. Where there's risers, there has to be fallers. AJ, who is the faller for you?
Yeah, this guy's been dropping a little bit, and I think it's only right. So, it's a tight end, so not a sexy pick, but I'm going with Mike Gesicki from Miami. He's fallen down, and he had himself his best year last year, 112 targets, 73 receptions, 780 yards. But now you're looking at fighting targets with a Jalen Waddle who had a fantastic rookie season, and of course the addition of Tyreek Hill, who we are still expecting to go gangbusters because let's be honest, Tua has to have a great year, and you're not doing that by forcing targets to Mike Gesicki. So again, it's a tight end, so you're not like freaking out like, oh man, I had my heart set on Mike Gesicki. If that's the case, you need to watch a lot more of our fantasy shows so we can talk you into some of better tight ends. But the truth of the matter is he is falling, and I think the reason being is he's going to be fighting some studs for targets, not to mention all those backs that have receiving prowess as well. So Mike Gesicki, if you can get out of him, or if he's going to be your first streaming tight end, that's to be the only thought process you have of one Mike Gesicki.
I hate when you guys bring up tight ends.
I know.
And then you did it in fantasy football. Like, who in the hell cares about Mike Gesicki? What is he? Who's drafting Mike? Like Mike, okay, if you're drafting Mike Gesicki, it's probably in the 15th round. Like, who really cares? Once you get past the first 4 or 5 tight ends, why do you even worry about a tight end? You might as well just wait and pick one up off of waivers and say, Inky Pinky Punky, Daddy had a donkey, give me a tight end, you're it, and put him in your lineup. Tight ends suck. If you don't have Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, or Travis Kelce, or Darren Waller, you might as well just retire and just put, I don't know, anybody out there. Kyle Rudolph, Mason Rudolph, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I don't care who's there. It's everybody in tight end scores 8 points in a given week, and you move on with your life. Tight ends are stupid.
Breaking news, the Sac City Fantasy League will now no longer have kickers or tight ends.
Well, as long as there's a Travis Kelce, a Mark Andrews, a Darren Waller, and a George Kittle, you have if I could give you 5 kickers that I knew wouldn't miss kicks, then we could have kickers. But outside of the Justin Tuckers and a few others, Evan McPherson, the Chiefs kicker,
Young Hoku, Harrison Bucker, and once upon a time I might have yelled.
And first
Justin Reed, 5, baby.
Tyler Bass. There's some good kickers in the league, but they all miss kicks.
Yeah.
The breaking news, and now it's going to be a super flex league, but instead of having it be wide receiver, running back, quarterback, it is going to be kicker and tight end. You can play either one in that slot. There's no longer going to be a tight end or kicker spot.
Sad part is there are. It's true. It's true. Like tight ends and kickers, they score the same amount of points.
Can we do that? Can we make that happen this year? We'll be trendsetters. We will be the trendsetters of a super flex of kickers and tight ends. It's genius. We got to talk about this, guys. We got to talk about this. That was a good follower, AJ, but my follower is just someone we have to talk about, and it's Antonio Gibson. Fumbled in the preseason, got shunned by the coaching staff of the Washington Commanders to the point where this man was on the punt team. He was working special teams in practice the other day. And maybe that's not that big of a deal to you, Aaron, but it's got a whole lot of people, including myself, a little concerned about Antonio Gibson to the point where I'm saying he is falling. And that's the truth. He is falling. Tell me now why he shouldn't be falling, or why you're okay letting him fall, and then you scoop him up because you were so excited for him. I'm concerned, man. I am concerned because
what are you concerned about?
Go on.
I'm still trying to get your point. What are you concerned
about? This seems like a trap. This seems like the writing is on the wall for Antonio. And I know Antonio Gibson has not been bad. Antonio Gibson in the past has a track record of being good. And I'm not discrediting anything that he has done. But it just seems to me that the writing is on the wall that Antonio Gibson is going to take a big-time fall this season. Maybe not to like the abyss, but a low-end running back to a fringe running back 2 RB3 flex type of player. Like, that's where I'm seeing Antonio Gibson as the writing on the wall of drafting Brian Robinson, bringing back J.D. McKissick, fumbling, special teams work. It's a concern, man. I'm freaking out.
Freaking out, man.
First of all, don't freak out. Calm down. You're right. Antonio Gibson is falling, but you're also right. He should be falling. Can't get benched in a preseason game and expect not to fall. Can't fumble again after fumbling 6 times in 2021 and expect your coaches to be like, don't worry, buddy, because you're going to get in there. He does not have that privilege at this point in time to do those things and not be able to cause concern for us as fantasy football players. Everybody's right when they talk about Antonio Gibson saying there's cause to pause and there's concern there. That's not what I'm excited about. I'm excited because I always bring this up. I've been watching the NFL a long time. I like when guys like that fall, when guys don't want to touch a guy. Because I'm telling you right now, I got guys in my leagues, they don't want any part of Antonio Gibson. And you know what I tell them? Good. Let him drop to the 5th, the 6th, the 7th round. And then I'll just draft him leisurely, like, let's take a flyer. And then he's the starter and it gives me running back 2 numbers. And I say, yippee, I win. Like, I'm okay with that, which is why I say, go ahead, let him fall. I'm not saying that it's not appropriate to let him fall. He deserves to have his ADP stock go down because he continues to do things that give cause to pause. I will say the biggest thing going for Antonio Gibson is Ron Rivera is not the type of coach that usually gives up on a player like that. He usually gives them opportunity and did it last year. He pulls them, he'll reprimand you, but he usually gives you an opportunity to earn your job back. And I think that's kind of what this is again early in camp. It's like a message. Hey, I told you, man, like you got guys back here that are hungry. This is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be chasing punts if you don't, get your shit together. And a lot of the guys have been talking about the same thing. I read an article today about it. Ron Rivera's talked about, hey, when Antonio Gibson runs hard, he doesn't fumble. When Antonio Gibson says every play is not a touchdown, he doesn't fumble. He said he fumbles when he's trying to dance a little too much to find the big play and go score a touchdown. He's like, I need him to realize when it's time to get 3 yards, I need 3 yards, not 83 yards. Not every play is built that way. And I think that was telling. I think Antonio Gibson's still a young player. Could this be the end of him in Washington? Perhaps it could. Everybody that's saying that, they have every right to say that. And there very much is some writing starting to be scribbled on the wall. I just don't worry about things like that because the more people talk about it, the further his stock goes down. And I'm okay taking Antonio Gibson in the 6th round. And saying, nobody wanted to touch him. I'll take him in the 6th. It's a flyer. And maybe he is an RB2 or a flex. But guess what? Antonio Gibson getting 50% of the carries is probably going to put up better numbers than Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison, all those guys that are being drafted in those areas. So I'm like, okay, because it's not like he's not going to touch the ball anymore. They are not going to say, Antonio Gibson, you're the starter. Antonio Gibson, you no longer play football. It's going to be, okay, now Brian Robinson may be the guy. And Antonio Gibson is that spellback, that guy that comes in and gets some 3rd down work a little bit, the guy that does some other things. So I'm perfectly fine with him being a flex play if that's where he ends up being. But let that stock go all the way down, and I'll take him at the last possible second before we have no choice. And then I think that's a win. So you're very right. You're very right. His stock is absolutely falling, and those owners in dynasty leagues have to be concerned. Thankfully, I just traded him for Mike Evans and some other stuff in a league. Or I traded him and Mike Evans for Christian McCaffrey and somebody else. But it's
nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good deal.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Sounds really fair. All right.
Well, no. See, but this is what we do. I made the deal, and at the time, it was a very fair deal. Nobody was talking about Antonio Gibson getting benched 2 weeks ago, right? It was Antonio Gibson, okay. So now he gets benched, and now that deal doesn't look so great anymore. But that's not my problem. Why is it my problem?
Is it just Christian McCaffrey?
What do you mean?
You traded Antonio Gibson
as far as
and Mike Evans?
No, I got another piece. I got Russell Gage.
AJ trying to figure out how he can get rid of Antonio Gibson in that GM league.
It was Antonio Gibson and Mike Evans for Christian McCaffrey and Russell Gage.
Oh, interesting.
So
I think you were winning regardless of when that deal was made.
But again, everybody's down on Christian McCaffrey too because he's been hurt for 2 years. So why? Yeah, sure. Give me Christian McCaffrey. I'll take him. I'll take those players. And if I get bit in the ass because of it, so be it.
Aaron is the home for lost toys, hoping that they could just find their way back to the prime, and then if not, yeah, that's it. Aaron, who is your faller?
This is going to be the funniest name. I'm glad you went to me last because this has absolutely nothing to do with fantasy football. Okay, because I'm going to be honest. It's probably not going to be on many people's fantasy teams. But I play in a lot of super flex 2-quarterback leagues. And I think it's important in 2-quarterback leagues to have good quarterbacks. And a lot of people, with the addition of Brian Dable, have drafted Daniel Jones and like the idea of a Daniel Jones maybe having a breakout season as a quarterback too. Not talking anything crazy, but quarterback two coming in there. Daniel Jones has now lost practice reps to Tyrod Taylor. And I get, we just talked about Antonio Gibson going to punt team. Dable said Tyrod Taylor is getting starter reps, and it's not because he's worried about Daniel Jones, but we just need to make sure that Tyrod Taylor's ready to go. That tells me you're worried about Daniel Jones. And I told you guys the other day that Tyrod Taylor getting more and more first-team reps is scaring me because there's a chance that Daniel Jones is not the starter for long in New York. There's been multiple reports that in camp he struggled plenty of times, and we talk about training camp being the easiest portion of this football process for these guys. 7-on-7, no contact, a lot of easy guys, people pulling up early, not really playing full strength. I worry that Daniel Jones is just, his career is coming to a crumble. I think this is it. I think the pinnacle is like this. I think it's like this. And right now he's in that high where we have to choose two roads. It's either Daniel Jones becomes great or Daniel Jones just falls off a cliff. And I think he's just running right off that cliff. So for me, my faller is Daniel Jones. If you had any inkling of Brian Dable helping Daniel Jones, I know he's only being drafted as like wide or quarterback 28 or whatever it is, but he does have some rushing ability. There are people that do like Daniel Jones, and I'm telling you, it's over. I just wanted to say that on this show because I really didn't have any fallers that were falling too far down the spectrum for me, and I just wanted to make fun of Daniel Jones some more.
I remember when I didn't really have a faller, so I went with Mike Gesicki, and that was the end of the world.
Well, you didn't say it, though. I prefaced it by saying this had nothing to do with really this fantasy football conversation. But I just wanted to talk about Daniel Jones. Because I'll be honest, there's not much of my rankings I can look at that I'm saying guys are falling. Antonio Gibson was one of them. It's coming. But there will be as we go on. But I really wanted to talk about Daniel Jones. And it really just came to me about 20 minutes ago when we were talking about something else. I was like, you know what? I want to talk about Daniel Jones. And so I did. It's my show. I don't give a fuck. I'm the Meuaxiah.
Unbelievable. I would have rather you had a riser be Tyrod Taylor. Is that?
I would rather you not worry about what the hell I'm doing and let me do my fantasy football the way I want to. I'm a champion, man. I'm a champion.
The fact that Daniel Jones, his name was brought up in a fantasy football show is
normal.
Great.
Can I ask you a question, Vinny? Daniel Jones.
You cannot.
I want to ask you a legit question. Can you go look for me and see where he was drafted last year?
No, I will not go look for you to see where he was drafted last year. Hold on, let me see.
I want to know what his ADP was last year.
That's gonna be a tough find. I mean,
no, it's not.
It's gonna be a tough find.
I was like,
it'd be a tough find for you, AJ, because you suck at finding shit.
And his computer would have crashed when he typed in Google.
Rude. Just rude. There's no need for all of this hate. I've done nothing.
I think AJ still got AOL dial-up.
Is that a thing? People still have that?
Oh my goodness gracious! That was too.
I feel bad because Vinny was expecting some substance from me from these fallers, and I was like,
I got Daniel Jones from you. Okay,
you know what?
I'm looking. I'll give you one.
I'll give you a legit one. No. I really want to throw this out there because it was brought up today, and I just remembered it was brought up today. Cam Akers. Cam Akers is a faller for me. He has a soft tissue injury. There's some concern already there. Darrell Henderson's there. I think this might end up being more of a running back by committee. I actually did reflect that in my running back rankings. I have now Cam Akers outside of the top 20, just outside of the top 20. I moved A.J. Dillon and Miles Sanders ahead of him. So Cam Akers could be somebody that we want to watch as we kind of go forward over the next couple of preseason games as somebody that starts falling down draft boards.
Daniel Jones last season's ADP was quarterback 30.
Oh, see, he moved up. Told you people are interested in him this year.
Quarterback 30 was Daniel
I knew he
Jones'
moved up.
ADP.
I knew he moved up a little bit.
He was going at the whopping 256th overall pick in fantasy drafts.
was being drafted. It's impressive.
Yeah,
he was right on the line of being drafted because after him was Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff.
None of those guys even play football anymore except for Jared Goff, and that's questionable whether he's actually playing football or not.
I cannot believe this. All right, let's go into our new segment here. Draft me here. There you go. AJ, who are you? Who's a must draft for you in a certain round of rounds 1 through 5?
Oh, interesting. So, okay. All right.
Was supposed to be asked AJ, but it's okay.
Yeah. I was like, all right, well, we'll go. I'm going to go to the 3rd round. And I am thinking about my guy, AJ Brown, Brown, Philadelphia Eagles. I am liking, obviously I love the connection with him going to Jalen Hurts. And then on top of that, I've done a couple mock drafts. I did about 3 today just to kind of get my beak wet. I've done about 5 total. And I'm seeing this is where he's basically ending up around that middle area of the 3rd round. So if you are interested in an AJ Brown, if you are on that turn, it may behoove you to make sure you are grabbing him right there because he's not going to last through the 3rd round. And if I'm in the 3rd round, he's probably one of the guys that I'm going to be looking at any way, shape, or form for 2 reasons. One, if I get a top tier receiver in the 1st round, well, now I can pair him with AJ Brown. Or if I go back to back on running backs, well, now I have a really good receiver that I'm proud of and happy to be with for my wide receiver 1 as an AJ Brown.
So basically, the segment is these guys are your must draft players within rounds 1 through 5 at their ADP. Am I on the right track, Aaron? Am I on the right track?
All you were supposed to say. You were just supposed to go like, AJ, who's your round 1 must draft?
Yeah. I thought you were going to give us your round 1 draft, so I was ready when you're like, so AJ, I was like, oh, I need a round 1. And I was like, oh, I can't pick the one that I think Vinny's going to do. I got a round 1.
You give AJ names his player, gives a reason. You name your player.
We're going round by round. We're not just picking holy shit, I did not prepare myself.
But it's quick. It's supposed to be rapid. It's supposed to be
My round 1 must draft player is Justin Jefferson. Okay, this is quick and easy. You said it earlier on in the show, so I don't even really have to do any work. It's the floor of Justin Jefferson that makes him a must draft. I was asked the question the other day by a good friend of mine. He said, "Who are you taking with the 1st pick?" And I was like, with the 1st pick, obviously it's Jonathan Taylor. But if I don't have that 1st overall pick, I think if I'm at number 2, I think I'm taking Justin Jefferson at number 2. Yeah, I would strongly that is a strong consideration there. Yeah. Well, no, it's because last year we saw AJ, you drafted Jonathan Taylor. We thought it was all crazy, blah, this and that. Justin Jefferson is going to be the wide receiver 1 this season. And with the uncertainty and the fluctuation of what running backs could be running back 1 and this and that, Justin Jefferson's going to be the wide receiver 1. That's going to happen barring injury. It's going to happen. And I want that floor of a guy whose worst is going to be wide receiver 5.
Oh, sounds good. Mine is kind of easy as well. It's not very hard. I will say maybe it is a little bit harder. It's the back end of round 1, but I'm taking him at the front end of round 1, and that's Deandre Swift. I think Deandre Swift, I talked about him the other day in the recap show. That dude looks electric. I think he's going to have a breakout season, massive breakout year, he was on pace to do last year. He was RB3 before he got hurt. I think that continues this year. He finishes in the top 5 in running backs. If you have a 1st round pick right now, I don't care if it's 1 through 12, take DeAndre Swift.
And he's not even going in the 1st round. Right? His ADP right now is the 14th pick.
14. Yeah.
So he's technically not even
looking at the wrong one. I messed up. Damn. I was looking at standard. I didn't change it back. But yeah, PPR, he's going 14, so that's technically I was wrong on that one.
So realistically,
so let me do it again. Take Christian McCaffrey in round 1, and then you got to just trade back up to get Deandre Swift at the front end of round 2.
So basically, the way this worked here is you gave round 2, I gave round 1, AJ gave round 3. We're working here.
This new segment didn't work the way it was supposed to work. We might as well just go to 4 and 5 and call it a day.
Right. Let's consensus on 4 and 5, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's go into round 2 though. AJ, do you have a player in round 2 that's kind of a must draft player?
Alvin Kamara. And that's a right now thing at his ADP because he should move up to the back end of round 1 because people will still have those questions or whatever for some reason. But if you can go grab Alvin Kamara, again, at that turn part before anyone else can get him, he's not going to make it past that. So draft Alvin Kamara in the second round and never look back.
Yeah, my second rounder is a running back as well. It's Aaron Jones.
That would be mine too.
Yeah, I've done a few mocks as of late, and I'm always like, I do them, and I'm like, there's no way Aaron Jones actually falls this low in any draft that I do in real life. There's no possible way. But you look at his ADP right now going as the 19th pick, it's unacceptable. Aaron Jones, like we've said on the show, if you missed our Green Bay Packers season preview, this dude has the potential to not only be the RB1 on this team, but the wide receiver 1 on this team. Get Aaron Jones in the second round at all costs.
Look at you, man. Well, I'll go elsewhere. I was going to say Aaron Jones.
He's going to say Deandre Swift.
Saquon Barkley. I'm doing it again, and I'm telling everybody to jump back all aboard on Saquon Barkley. This guy looks fast. He looks healthy. He looks in shape. He looks like he was before he was injured. And again, there is no other piece in New York that's going to compete with him for touches in and out of the backfield. He is the New York Giants' Christian McCaffrey. Saquon Barkley could be the running back that's drafted in the late second round, early third round, and ends up in the first round value. People forget how talented he is because he's been injured and he has sucked. Let's be honest, he sucked. But I'm all aboard. I'm back on.
All right.
I'm winning.
All right. It scares.
This is the Saquon year. Like, legit, This is the Saquon year.
It's going to be scary. Christian McCaffrey's going to be scary because he was hurt last year. Saquon's going to be scary because he was hurt. Like, hurt guys are scary.
Yeah.
They are.
Got to ride with the ship, though. AJ, your third round pick was A.J. Brown, so I'll just kind of jump in here, and I'll go with my guy, Mike Evans. It's the slam dunk pick right there in round 3. It's Mike Evans. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 for a Tom Brady-led Buccaneers offense. We don't know where Chris Godwin's going to end up with that ACL injury, and he might come back good as new. Either way, even if he comes back good as new, Mike Evans is still going to be one of Tom Brady's favorite target, if not his favorite target, especially in the end zone. He is Mr. Consistency. You can never go wrong with Mike Evans in round 3 especially.
Come on, you guys already know where I'm going. You cannot have a show without this man right here. Josh Jacobs is the round 3 lock of the century. I would bet $1 million on it. It's the easiest pick in the draft. Just go get Josh Jacobs and trust the process. Take him.
I want to know where your math is going here.
Josh Jacobs. Take him in the third round.
Okay, he's a 4th round pick.
Take him in the third.
Okay. All right,
I'm not looking at the thing anymore, so I don't know.
Okay, all right.
He's a 4th round pick. You don't wait. You take him in the third round.
Take him in the third.
Take him in the second. I don't care. Josh Jacobs will be a top 15 running back, whatever that means. Let's go.
Great.
I'm trying to wrap it up. I didn't even look at the number he was
top 15 overall player.
I just wanted to talk about
top 15 running back.
AJ, round 4. Who you got?
Round 4, I am taking Deontay Johnson here. I mentioned earlier that I believe he can make these quarterbacks better. He's a talented receiver. Even though there's flux with the quarterbacks, Deontay Johnson can help clear that up. I'm taking Deontay Johnson there, and I might later on take George Pickens, but we're not getting there. So I'm just lock it all up. Just give me both of them. You don't even use one of them. Give me them both.
This is where I start to get emotional. This is the round where my emotions start coming
just
into
now.
play. Yeah, no. This is it because the players in this round, in round 4, they don't no one jumps off the page to me. No one's like, oh my God, I have to get him, except for one player. And that's George Kittle. And I know it's a tight end, and I know we talk about how Like it's you either get your tight end early or you don't touch him ever again until the very end. You saddle a stud of a tight end, and because I'm not crazy, I'm not like insane about any of the other, like, of course, Jalen Waddle, Terry McLaurin, all Deontay Johnson, all DK Metcalf, all great players, all fantastic players.
He just named all the guys to get over George Kittle. Like, he should get those guys over George Kittle.
But the thing is after that round, your tight end position kind of looks a little rough. So get your top dog tight end in George Kittle, make it happen.
You're crazy. We'll go to round 5. We'll move on because we're running out of time here. So I'll spare you. I'm going to do the math appropriately this time. And my round 5 pick, that is going to be picks 48 through 60. Okay, 48 through 60. I'm looking right now at 48 through 60. My round 5 pick is going to be none other than
Dalton Schultz.
No, not Dalton Schultz. I'm taking Elijah Mitchell here. I like Elijah Mitchell. I think there's a lull in running backs for a number of picks, right, where you talk about we don't really want the running backs. I think the 49ers backfield's good to have a piece there just because they run the ball so well. Give me some Elijah Mitchell.
AJ, let's see if we have the same person here. 3, 2, 1. Brandon Cooks.
AJ Dillon.
Well,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, AJ Dillon's outside the 5th round.
He is.
So check this out. Check this out. This is really actually kind of funny. And I don't care if you believe me or not. Yeah. Brandon Cooks was the other person I was looking at. But he got a freebie. And I'm looking at an AJ Dillon. And if I'm getting him in those 60, I'm not getting him on the outside. And I'm a guy who really wants AJ Dillon this season. I think he's going to get the rush work. I think he's going to be that dude in that offense outside of what Aaron Jones is going to do. So, yeah, it's 3 picks. I'm expecting to be on the outside of the turn.
We absolutely
so I get the luxury
suck
to get
at this new segment.
Well, guess what? If we're all breaking the rules here, F my Brandon Cooks pick, it's Allen Robinson, okay? It's Allen Robinson.
It's Allen Robinson. Once again, I pick with my heart because I love him so much. This is why you never win, Vinny.
Hey, if last time I checked, you also didn't win last year.
Do we want to count championships? We can go to Yahoo profiles and we can go to sleeper profiles right now and pull up championship wins and see who got the most.
Last time I checked, you lost last year, and I lost last year.
Last time I checked, I believe I carried us to a victory in Sherm's league.
Oh, okay. Now we're doing this. Okay. All right. At least you know what you didn't carry. You had the chance. You had the opportunity to win the Sac City League last year.
No, we didn't.
For the brand.
No.
For the brand.
It did not. Nope.
You lost it for us.
You want to know why? I've never had that opportunity because it wasn't the Sac City League. It was that old name league.
I wasn't going to bring up the old league name.
I know. So it wasn't the Sac City League. That's why I didn't win. I just didn't feel it in my bones.
I did it for the Rock.
I did it for the people.
All right. That does it for another Fantasy Drive show presented by the Sac City Podcast. We'll be back again tomorrow morning live at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, breaking down who? Aaron, who are we breaking down?
Oh, the Giants and the Titans?
Gross.
Is that what it is? Was that the team?
That is what it is.
That's absolutely foul. Don't tune into that show. Tune into our Friday show. Unless you're a Giants fan or a Titans fan, then tune in.
Wait. They have to tune in though, because we also have a preview show of the preseason game. So they'll want to make sure they tune into that as well.
That's true.
There you go. Give them reasons.
Bears Seahawks. That should be a great game to preview. We got a lot to talk about.
Shit. What a terrible show tomorrow. We're going to have to figure out some juice to add to that show. Either way, find out what we do tomorrow live at 10 a.m. Eastern Time right here on YouTube. For my best friend Aaron Meuaxiah and for your boy AJ Johnson, I am me. We will see you tomorrow.
Peace out.
Holla.
Rest in peace, the Draft Me Here segment.